Alright gang, welcome to Hansen Speed Shop. At the beginning of the video, you've seen a picture of a really cool car that I first seen in Hot Rod Deluxe magazine about 4 years ago, and just really kind of fell in love with the look of that car. And I kind of want to do something that kind of pays respect to that car and that East Coast 50s, early 60s style hot rod. So we've got a Hot Wheels 32 Ford here. Get this thing opened up. Alright. So this is what we're going to be using to build, not really a replica of that car, but something kind of really similar. And I just always really liked that car when I seen it in the magazine. So that car was chopped and channeled. This car has a chopped roof on it, but the body's sitting on top of the frame. So we're going to do something with this car that I've never done before, and that's going to be channeling the body over the chassis to give it that real super low stance to it. And that's a lot easier said than done, because by doing that we literally have to change everything on the car. The firewall is going to have to get notched out. The interior is going to be too thick then, and then the motor and radiator and everything's not going to line up correctly. So we're really going to have to modify like the whole car. I've never done this before, so I'm going to kind of just figure it out as I go along, and you guys will be along for the ride. So I'll get this thing torn apart, and we'll see what we're going to have to do to get that look out of this car, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so we have the car torn apart here, and looking at it, first thing I'm going to have to do is just cut off this scoop with the post on it. And it looks like the firewall already is kind of notched. So where it's the small notch here on the bottom of the firewall, I think I'm just going to have to follow the cut or this line up and bring this bottom line up higher, because that's where the chassis is fitting tight too. So that's going to be step one. And then the chassis itself is probably a little bit wide to fit in, to lower it into the body. So we might have to shave this frame a little skinnier. And then we're going to have to separate the engine from the interior. We might have to section this interior or just make a whole new interior. I'm not sure yet. And then we're definitely probably just going to have to get rid of this whole piece here. I'm planning on getting rid of these zoomy headers and running more of like a lake style header. And then we'll have to do something else for on top of the blower, since we're getting rid of the scoop. And then I'll have to reposition the grill shell and everything, otherwise it's not going to be sitting right. So a lot of work is going to go into this, but I'm hoping that if it turns out right, it's going to look really cool. So once I get into this a little bit more, again, I'm not 100% sure on how this is going to work out, because I've never done anything like this specifically before. I'll show you a little bit more of the progress once I get more figured out. Alright guys, so we got some of the work done on the channeling of this 32 Ford. I'm really happy with the way it's coming out. It's starting to look really good. Really got the frame and the chassis basically where I want it. Just for comparison, look, here is how the car used to sit. So we definitely got this thing, sitting with that cool East Coast style hot rod. Went from high boy to a channeled car. What I had to do to get it to sit this way was fairly simple. First thing that we did, like I talked about, we cut off that front post that was connected to the scoop. I still have to clean the firewall up, and then we'll probably have to make a piece to fill in right here. And then I notched the bottom out a little bit more than it was to begin with, and then also kind of shaved in right here for some more clearance for the frame. Then on the frame, I just sanded the sides a little bit. Still have to clean that up a little bit more, just so it would slide up into the body a little bit easier. And then on the back of the car, the back roll pan, I just basically trimmed that down quite a bit. And then I also cut the rear post off as much as possible. And then that all together gave us our desired channeled 32 Ford. Here's a look at the back of the car. I still have to do a little bit of cleaning up on that, but it looks pretty good. Pretty happy with that. So our interior is not going to fit now. I've already tried. I knew it wasn't going to, but it's just too fat now and it won't fit because we brought the whole chassis up into the body so far. So what I think I'm going to do is just cut these sides off of here and then try to just kind of retrieve the seat and then see if I can make that work, and then maybe try to work the dash in, and we just won't run these side panels, and then we're just going to eliminate this whole back piece. We cut the engine out, got the zoomy headers off. Again, still have, cleaning up to do on all this stuff. We detached it from the front of the interior. I think what I'm also going to do, I got to double check to see if this is sitting right. It's actually not too bad. I shaved the bottom down a little bit just to get the engine to sit a little bit lower since we brought everything up. You don't want, the engine sitting up like this high or whatever. So I got to play around with that a little bit, but I'm not sure if I want to get rid of the blower altogether. And then I have this, which is out of the mod rod, and I'm planning on using these leg style headers off of this engine, and then I also might just get rid of the blower altogether and then put this tri-power setup off of this engine onto our little Hemi here. So let's play around with that stuff, and then when we make a little bit more progress, I'll show you guys what's going on. Alright guys, we're back on our chopped and channeled 32 Ford project. This car is turning out just awesome. I'm so happy with this car. It just looks awesome, and everything is going like better than planned. Also really happy with this project just because, as far as I know, I've never seen anybody else really do a car like this. I've seen just about everybody on YouTube at some point in time has done a 32 Ford. I mean, I know I've done a couple of them, but I know of, I've never seen anybody do a channeled 32 Ford. So that's pretty cool, and it looks just awesome. So all that we really have left to do on this car, I have to do some kind of carb setup yet on top here, kind of filling in where the scoop was. I've got a couple ideas of what I'm going to do for that, but I'm not positive yet if any of those are even going to work or not. We added the leg style headers off of the mod rod. Just cut those off and glued them on, and they look great. Fit really nicely, fit around the body and everything. We separated the seat from the original interior, so it's just going to kind of sit in there like that, and it'll fit out and work out just fine. We cut out the whole floor and everything. Really don't need that because it was only a partial floor anyway. And then I just separated the dash piece right here, and then I cut the bottom of the dash a little bit shorter, and then once the dash is in the car, it's going to fill in, because we had this hole in the firewall. Once we get the dash in the car, let's see if I can demonstrate this here. It's going to be kind of hard for me, but basically the back side of the dash will fill in the hole here, so I don't even really need to make a piece. And then I trimmed the back of the glass out so that it's just going to be long enough to cover up the rear window. That way we shouldn't run into any clearance issues when we reassemble the car. Otherwise, all that's really left to do now, besides doing the carbs and on top of the engine and then kind of gluing everything in, we've got to paint detail everything, and then I've got to strip the body yet, and then paint the body, and that should about do it for this car. So I think the next time that you guys are going to check this thing out will be at the final unveil, so we'll see you there. Alright guys, I just thought I'd show you one more quick little look at the car before I paint it. It's sitting over here in my little kind of purgatory where all the cars, I usually just kind of sit them, either if they're awaiting paint, or if I just kind of let the car rest for a while and move on to a different project and come back to it, or I just lost interest in it or whatever. This one I just moved over here because it's done as far as fabrication goes. I'm just waiting on the paint. I added these carbs on top. Those were donated from a bone shaker, and they look super cool. I just cut the whole blower off and then cut that out of the engine from the bone shaker, put it on top of a little Hemi, and it turned out sweet. So the next time you see this thing, it will be at the final unveil, so we'll see you there. Alright gang, time for the final unveil on our 32 Ford chopped and channeled 50 Survivor hot rod, and this thing came out just awesome. I'm super happy with it. I've been wanting to do a car like this for a long time. Tried something that I haven't done before, and it turned out really good. Definitely going to be doing some more stuff like this in the future. Really like the real car since I first seen it in the magazine, and really happy with my custom Hot Wheels version of it. So as you see, we gave the car, tried to replicate the color as close as possible. I used a Rust-Oleum paint on the body and the grille. I'm not actually sure what the shade of the color is. I actually found this paint in the garbage and was like, hey, that's actually the perfect colors for what I need. It's just a Rust-Oleum paint. Here's what the cap looks like, but there's no like color on the can, but it turned out perfect shade that I needed. We used the original Hemi engine that came in this 32 Ford. The carbs on top of the engine were sourced off of a bone shaker, and the exhaust was sourced off of a Hot Wheels mod rod. And then we kind of had to section the grill and engine down just a hair to get it to sit perfectly right. And then I kind of detailed the engine out red on top of the stacks, and then did the plug wire holes red, and then kind of detailed the rest of the engine out to give it a little bit of patina. Everything wasn't perfect to begin with, which was great. Painted the grill, and then I painted the grill insert, kind of weathered that a little bit also. Running some Hot Wheels steel wheels with white walls, and then I detailed the rims out to look like the real car with the red trim around the the wheel and the center cap on the wheel red. And then this car was not an original chopped car. The real car wasn't. The guy who found the car in its original condition in the 90s decided to chop the car and then kind of painted over where they chopped the roof with just some like primer black. So that's what I replicated on this car, and did the same patina look as the real car. We channeled the body over the frame and then had to reconfigure the whole interior to work. But the car, the stance is awesome. It sits perfect. Did the seat in a two-tone satin white and satin red, just like the real car. I did the dash in a gloss black with a red steering wheel. Taking a look at the back of the car, I hand did the Dueces Wilde on the deck lid, just using a satin white, and they're really small, but this car does have tail lights. So the back of the car is super happy with the look on that. We had to do a custom rear end on this car because when you channel the body over the frame, you have to go really wide on the rear end so that you have clearance for the tires. Painted the rear end gloss red just like the real car. Taking a look at this side of the car, pretty much the same thing. The real car has door handles on the front of the door, so I kind of painted a little door handle on where they would be on the real car. Painted the radius rods with the little red holes on, just like the real thing. And then taking a look underneath the car, just kind of painted the base satin black just to give it a little bit more of a realistic look. And then again, I painted the rear end and all the rear suspension red, and the drive shaft just like the real car. Detailed out the transmission. And that's about it for our custom 32 Ford Dueces Wilde replica. Super awesome car. I'm so happy with it because I've seen like tons of people do custom Hot Wheels 32 Fords, but I've never seen anybody do a channeled version of one. So wanted to do it, wasn't sure if it was going to work or not, but I'm like, I'm going to try it and see what happens, and I'm super glad I did because it turned out awesome. There's a lot of work involved in doing it, so if it's something you want to do, just be prepared to do a lot of test fitting, cutting, taking apart, test fitting, cutting, a lot of modifying of stuff, because you basically have to rework every part of the car. But if you want that chopped and channeled look, because we're going for that 50s kind of East Coast style hot rod, it's really the only way to get it. But it turned out just awesome. I hope you guys dig it. If you do, give it a thumbs up, comment below, let me know what you think of this thing. Also, one other thing, I didn't have the correct width axle for the front, so I had to use a wheel that had a yellow like a yellow old tire on it, and then I painted it white, and then it kind of gave the front tire kind of like a yellowing effect, like when you have white walls or white letter tires, sometimes over time they kind of turn a yellowy color. And at first I wasn't really happy about that, but then again, looking at the real car, that's actually how the real car looks. The front white walls kind of have a yellowing effect to them, so I didn't even really do that on purpose. It just kind of worked out for the best. But again, that's going to do it for this one. Stick around for some sweet pictures of the car, showing some up-close detail on it. Otherwise, get out, work on your own projects, get your hands dirty, stay cool, and we'll catch you cats on the next one. Thanks for watching.